Hello and welcome to Walking the Earth Podcast, a podcast about the backpacking experience. You can check us out online at WTEpodcast.com. I'm Justin Castle calling in from New York City, New York.
And I'm Mike Margulies calling in today from Bangkok, Thailand. And before I go ahead and introduce our guest, a quick word from our sponsor. So we are brought to you this time by audible.com. Basically, if you go to our link, which is audibletrial.com/WTE podcast, you can get a free 30-day trial and also get yourself a free audiobook. And so for folks listening to this show, a book you might find interesting would be The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. It's a book I've talked about before, and the themes of the book are kind of in line with a lot of what today's digital nomads and a lot of backpackers are doing. You know, the idea is you free up your time, you automate a lot of the things in your life, whether it's your business or even making yourself location independent in your existing job. Talks about a lot of these things, so folks listening to this show would probably be very interested in that. It's one of many books you can find on Audible.
Yeah.
So please, check them out. Audibletrial.com/WTE podcast. You get a free audiobook of your choice, which could be that one or any other. And you help support the show. So check them out. Audibletrial.com/WTE podcast. And so with that, I'm going to bring things to Portland, Oregon. And so calling in from Portland, we've got Ben Condon. What's up, man? How are you doing?
Hi, how's it going? Good.
Cool.
Welcome,
and
Ben.
So Ben actually has a story very much relevant to me right now, I'd say. A cautionary tale about Thailand, about this city I'm in, Bangkok. And so I'll let you kind of lead it in, man, as it's a really interesting story.
Sure. So I found myself in Bangkok, Thailand about a couple years ago. I just finished a business trip in India where over the course of a weekend I was able to do a quick trip to Bangkok and decided I liked it and wanted to see more of Thailand. So me and a buddy who was living in Japan, we coordinated to meet in Thailand and then travel through Thailand a little bit and to Vietnam. And so I was able to get to Thailand about a week before he was and spent about a week down in the islands in the Gulf Coast, Samui and Koh Tao, and just having a really good time. And then met my friend, his name's Mike, met him in Thailand, and just really excited to see each other. We hadn't seen each other in probably about a year, just since he was living in Japan. And decided I'd never been to Khao San Road, and he had, and so that's kind of
and Khao San Road being like, that's sort of in Thailand, in Bangkok, it's kind of the hub for all of Southeast Asia, really. It's like if you're a backpacker in Southeast Asia, it's pretty much the first spot you land is Khao San Road, right? With all the hostels and all the bars. It's kind of this backpacker central.
Right. Yeah, and at the time I hadn't really considered myself a backpacker in the traditional sense, just because I was coming off a business trip. I was kind of used to staying in kind of nice digs. So
yeah, you had actually just won like a bunch of money at a casino or something too, right?
Yeah, I went to Goa in India a few weeks before, and
India's also amazing, of course.
It was actually just a side note that Goa. I won about $600 one weekend at the casino.
Nice.
And then I went.
And that's like a month in India. A month of living.
Then I went back to my office, and my Indian coworkers are like, "How'd you do in the casino? Did you win any money?" And I had to I won 2 months of your salary.
Yeah, jeez.
Wow.
To me, yeah.
That's
I was living a decent lifestyle. I know I wasn't. At the time I was 28. I was, working in a big corporate career. So
right.
I was used to staying in nice hotels. I wasn't so much in the backpacker mindset. But that quickly changed when, after me and my friend and I, we were staying in a proper hotel off one of the sois off Sukhumvit, and so he recommended we go to Khao San, go drinking, go to clubs, and so that's what we did our first night together.
Right.
We met at the airport. I flew in from Koh Samui that day, and he flew in from Nagoya, Japan, and so promptly we checked into the hotel and then went straight to the Khao San Road and.
It's like a good buddy of yours you hadn't seen in a while, I'm assuming, right? So you have plans to have a good night out, all this stuff.
Yeah, so we were really excited to see each other and just hit the town, make a night out of it. We're probably out until 1:30. We decided to get in a cab. And then the distance between Khao San Road back to Sukhumvit. In the middle of the night, it's probably 15, 20 minutes by cab. But we'd been in the cab for probably about 30 minutes, and we still hadn't even gotten to an area that remotely resembled Sukhumvit. And so my buddy, he asked the driver. He said, "Hey, I really have to pee. Are we getting close?"
The drivers take you for a ride around here, yeah.
Yeah, and we didn't really care because we negotiated a price up front, and so we didn't.
Oh, really? Usually it's when they run the meter, they'll do that kind of thing, but
yeah, but I think he was just trying to look for a setup.
Okay. I understand.
Oh, wow.
So
because
so
he's in on it.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Oh.
So you went out for a little bit. You're picked up in the cab. You're in the cab. You're heading back, and you didn't think anything of it because you were with your friend. You were drinking a little bit, and it didn't even cross your mind did it cross your mind like, holy shit, we got a pre-negotiated rate or?
No, I mean that's kind of normal in Thailand.
That's normal.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's more uncommon for them to run the meter, actually. Good luck finding a guy who will run the meter for you here.
Okay.
That's the most frustrating thing about Bangkok. Every time I'm here, I'm just trying to get around, trying to find a cab that will actually run the meter or give you the right price. It's really difficult.
Yeah, I mean you know that you might be paying a little extra, but you know exactly how much you're paying too. So it's kind of a trade-off.
Yeah. If you get the meter, then they're gonna take you around for a ride. So it's sort of like either way you're gonna get screwed.
Cost of doing business.
Yeah, and so we my friend asked the driver, I have to pee really bad. Are we almost there? And the driver said, let me find a safe place to pull over. And so he drives another few minutes. Finally pulls over. My friend gets out, starts peeing right away. And as soon as he's peeing, there's a cop waiting right there on the sidewalk. Starts yelling at my friend, hey, you can't do that. Tells my friend he's going to charge him with urinating in public, which in the middle of the night in Bangkok, it wouldn't be uncommon at all to see somebody urinating on the side of the road.
For locals or for anybody?
For locals.
Oh, okay.
Anybody, yeah. It's a different world.
Okay. All right.
And then the cop got into the backseat of the taxi with me, and then he just pretended essentially to reach into my pocket. He just kind of tapped his hand against my thigh, and then held up a little tiny 1 gram bag of marijuana, which I know 100% certainty it wasn't mine. It wasn't even on our radar to get drugs or anything that night, and so it was just a complete shock when he held up a bag, and he wanted. On the spot, he wanted a 10,000 baht, which is about $300, and this whole situation was really sketchy. I didn't even know if he was a real cop, just given the circumstances of how he approached us. I wasn't that familiar with kind of their Bangkok or a Thai police officer's uniform, what it really looks like, but they don't quite have the same level of equipment and official lookingness of like an American cop. So
that's one thing that you don't always. Yeah, in new countries, I'm like, wait, what is a police uniform? It always kind of throws me off a little bit. So I'm like, wait, which one's the police?
Yeah, I mean, because some of the official police there, they look less official than like a rent-a-cop, like a mall security guard in the States. Sometimes.
Yeah, and I remember in India they have these tan uniforms, and in Vietnam they're these green. It's just very different than what you're used to.
Yeah.
Is it?
But also, I think there would be people. I'm sure there are people in Thailand that dress up like police that aren't as well. So you wouldn't have been completely off base to, think that maybe this is not even a cop.
So have you heard of that? Have you seen that, Mike or Ben? Did you hear of things like that, like people not being police officers but impersonating them? Has that before you even visited Thailand? Did that cross your mind, or in your travels, Mike? Have you seen that or heard of it?
I didn't know. I can't think specifically of someone telling me this kind of story, but I wouldn't be surprised if that kind of thing has happened.
I do know in India there is a problem with counterfeit road checkpoints for alcohol testing. So people will just pay the fine and it's not even going to a real cop.
And they do have things at the borders. I remember crossing from Laos into Cambodia. The way the border is set up, it's not like, say, a border that the U.S. would be running, for example, where it's very formal and you know exactly here's where you go. It's like you just kind of walk across the border, and there's sort of little stands along the way, and you don't even know exactly which ones you're supposed to go to. Like some of them are completely fake. You just walk up and they give you like a quote unquote medical exam, where they like check your temperature and they charge you a couple dollars for it. And there's literally like fake border procedure people at some of these borders. It's wild, man. It's just the Wild East.
So did you pay one of those people, Mike? Like, did you actually?
I think I paid someone like $2 to give me a medical exam when I was crossing from Laos to Cambodia. And I just, it's very disorienting because you don't know what's going on. Like, it's really weird. That's a very weird border.
When I got to in Cambodia, I didn't have any passport pictures, and I asked one of the officials. I was like, I don't have a picture, and he's like, it's $20 for the visa, and he's like, oh, just give me 25. I gave him 25. 2 seconds later, he comes back with my visa stamp, and I bypassed this line that was taking people over an hour to get through.
Wow.
I saw people arrived at my hostel that I saw were on my flight like an hour and a half after, and I was like, best $5.
Dude, a friend of mine I was traveling with at the time across the same Lao-Cambodia border, he had something similar where, well, in his situation, his passport didn't have enough space or something, but he like paid them extra so that they could put the visa over some other stamp that was on there or something.
Wow.
It's wild.
That's nuts, man. So it sounds like I don't know. Would you call that corruption a little bit? Like if you're paying a guy $5 to let you through early, like would you? I mean, I guess it's considered a little bit, right?
I think definitely because then they. I mean, we're making light of it, but then there's situations where they won't stamp you out of the country unless you give them you have to slip $1 into your passport as well.
Yeah, so there's corruption that helps you sometimes, and there's corruption that doesn't help you.
Yeah, this is interesting. This is something that like was very prevalent in my last company that I worked for. Actually, they said, I mean, corruption was not prevalent. They made it very, very straightforward that, anything regarding money and all that stuff was definitely corruption, and that, you had to be wary of that. They had like anti-corruption training on a yearly basis that you had to take. It's just interesting to hear, like, some of these countries, you have to do that if you want to do business, but it's also morally and socially wrong, even though you'll make a huge deal or you'll get across a border first. Yeah, it helps you, but I guess it's just moral and socially it's not the right thing. And that brings me back to like the story. So at this point, this guy, you're in the back of the taxi, this guy pulls some not fake weed, but he pulls this weed that he obviously planted on you.
Mm-hmm.
And
he goes 10,000 baht right now, or you go to jail. And I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe he's not real. Maybe this is Asia. I got to negotiate everything. So I tried to drive a hard bargain. I go, no, I'm not paying you. And he asked me one more time, 10,000 baht right now, or you go to jail.
Wow.
And did you try offering him like 5,000 or something?
No, I just tried to drive. I thought hopefully he was gonna would budge down, but
right.
Apparently they don't like to negotiate, and so right after the second time I refused, he immediately cuffed me, and right after he cuffed me, I said, okay, I pay, and he goes, no, too late, you go to jail.
I'm surprised he didn't at that point just say, okay, all right, now I'm serious, I'll take it.
Right.
Surprised he didn't just. He said the offer's off.
I think I just really just rubbed him the wrong way.
Maybe he's doing this so that so you tell the story to people on for example, a podcast. And now in the future, everyone just pays immediately.
Yeah, I mean, he probably still get I'm sure he got a cut of what I had to pay in the end anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure he got a cut at the end. Yeah,
I guarantee it.
He had to have.
I wouldn't be surprised if the taxi driver got a little bit too.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, I want to hear. I read the story. You can see the story for our listeners. We're gonna link to it. You can read the story online on your Facebook. But I want you to keep going and get to the part where you're in jail. And that scenario sets up where there's even larger corruption than we even thought. Yeah.
So then so after I refused and he cuffed me, he got into he got into the cab. Well, he was already in the cab, but basically the cab drove us to the police station where they booked me, and they kept me in a kind of like observation room for the first night, where essentially I just had to kind of sleep on this wooden table. And I remember I'd bought in one of this hollowed out wooden tribal frog you can buy in Kosan, one of the
I've seen those.
And just
click, yeah.
And
yeah.
and I still, so I was in that room, and they hadn't taken my cell phone either. Luckily I had a Thai SIM, but I called the embassy and I called an emergency line, and I was telling them what happened, and eventually they said, "Stop calling. We know that, like, you're arrested. Like, there's nothing we can do for you. Like,
oh wow.
Like, we don't care that, like, you're complaining that you're, like, the cop was corrupt. You're in jail. Like, you don't have a beef.
Wow.
Leave us alone." Just
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a pretty terrifying night, just being in there. And then the next day they moved me to kind of the more general cells. There was probably about 4 or 5 cells in this police station, and it was the Chanasangkram police station right at the end of Khaosan Road that you'll see.
I know that one.
Yeah.
That's where you pick up the bus and stuff too.
Yeah, all the shuttles to the airport and
yeah,
right by there. So they moved me into another room where I could kind of tell what was going on outside. I could tell if it was night or day, but still really couldn't see out onto the street. And so that's one of the most frustrating things, is you hear life going on, continuing outside, and then you're stuck in a cell, and they keep a lot of information from you. That they really try to intimidate you, and they didn't really give me any status updates for probably about 16 or 18 hours while I was in there.
And you don't have you don't have the same rights you have in the U.S., right? Where it's, okay, well, you have the right to a speedy trial, right to an attorney, right to remain silent, all these, things. And you don't even know what the rights are, I guess, as well. Exactly.
Right, right. And I was, to be honest, I was a little disappointed with the U.S. Embassy's response, too. Because I called them, and all they did was send me a fax, which was about 10 pages long, and it did tell me my rights to a certain degree, but some other embassies, when their citizens are arrested, for example, the Korean embassy will always come and bring a care package and check in and make sure that the prisoner's healthy and stuff. So
have you been arrested in Korea?
I have not, but this is what my translator told me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You brought it up, man.
Never been to Korea, but
okay.
Not planning on getting arrested. And
so what were the accommodations like? What can you describe them in detail for the listeners? Paint us a picture of the holding area.
I was in a room. My cell was probably about 10 feet by 20 feet, so it was enough room to pace around in, to kind of lie down comfortably. And then within that cell there was a squatter toilet that was covered 3 ways around by a kind of a wall, and there's a faucet within that squatter toilet, so you can kind of give yourself a shower and defecate and urinate in there. But there's no bench. You sleep directly on the concrete floor. There's constant fluorescent light. There's no clock, which is psychologically just torturous. Not knowing what time it is, not knowing how long you've been in there.
So it's like the casino, but way worse.
It is, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Jeez, that's awful, man.
So after I was in the jail for the first afternoon, they brought in a translator, and it was this sketchy Thai dude, and his English was pretty bad. It was kind of tough to understand him, and he had neck tattoos, and he just kind of seemed pretty sketchy. And he told me how I was going to have to pay about 40,000 baht, and I told him how I had plans to go to Chiang Mai that day, and he's like, "That's impossible now." And he told me how I'd basically be in Thailand for 2 months to 6 months, depending if I pleaded guilty or not guilty. So if I pled not guilty, I'd have to wait in Thailand for 6 months until my trial.
Holy shit!
Oh my god!
Which he told me I'd be found guilty anyway, just because it's my word versus the cops, and then my sentence would be much more severe than if I just pled guilty and paid this money.
Interesting.
So I thought this was sketch, and I told him, like, I'm not willing to pay him, and I want to get a lawyer and do this like the traditional way. So he left, and then the next day they brought in a new translator, and it was a female, and her English was much better, and she just gave a different impression, and so I opened up to her, and she told me that I would basically have to pay 55,000 baht, which equates to about $1,800.
Okay.
So I had my friend on the outside. I had him make several ATM runs for me, and I had some cash in my safe, and so between the two of us, we were able to get this money together, and I think that's one of the reasons why we were a target in the first place is because we were two men, and they want to arrest one of a pair. So there's one on the outside to do the other one's bidding, the cash runs.
So it seemed like it was a routine almost. Is that what the impression you're giving?
It's definitely a routine. And as I continue to tell the story, I can definitely elaborate on that too.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So anyway, I got the cash together and paid it to this translator and in front of the captain as well. We were in the captain's office in the basement of the police station and just counted out 55,000 baht, which it's physically a lot of money.
Wow.
So that was painful, but then as soon as after I paid it, then the cops' attitude towards me completely changed. They were they were pretty nice to me.
Yeah, super happy and nice to you, right?
Super happy and nice to me. They gave me a beer. I don't even smoke, but they offered me a cigarette, and I was just stressed and kind of happy to smoke a cigarette as well. In certain times.
Yeah. No, I would too. There's a picture of you too, right, with your handcuffs on and a beer in your hand.
Yeah.
Have you posted?
That's a good picture, by the way.
Yeah. So the next day they took me to court. And my official bail was $10,000 or 10,000 baht. So the other 45,000 baht just kind of vanished.
Yeah.
Went
somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Was that made apparent at the trial or at the judgment?
Basically, I wasn't allowed to pay the bail myself. It has to be paid through an agent, and so by me paying this 55,000 baht, they kind of arranged the agent to pay the 10,000 baht bail on my behalf.
Oh.
I basically had to give them blind faith as well. It's like, here's 55,000 baht and your word that the system's going to slide me through like you're telling me it will.
Okay.
So
you couldn't give them like half before, half after? I guess you were in a position to negotiate at this point.
I know I was taking a chance, but I also realized like I'm just a money bag to them, and that's what they want.
Right.
And if I just
you are targeted staying in Thailand for months, right? So.
Right. And I had to get back to work. I was on a business trip. Luckily, my company was pretty accommodating. I told them what happened, and I got to keep my job when I came home, which was a relief.
Yeah.
But then, so after I had my bail, I had to stay in Thailand for 2 months until my official court date.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, and so then I had to shift modes into kind of the more backpacking mode.
Right. Then you became a backpacker. Unintended backpacking trip, huh?
So what did you wind up doing? You just bounced around?
Did you at least have a good time in the last 2 months? Yeah.
I did. Yeah, I did have a really good time. And in fact, being in Thai jail, it made me appreciate my freedom. And then having 2 months of freedom in another sense where I'm free from obligations from home, from work. I'm just in limbo.
Yeah.
It was kind of a nice blessing in disguise. Although
right, you got like a little extra vacation.
Yeah.
You only cost you $2,000 and some time in prison.
Yeah, I mean the way I look at it, it's like that was like my airfare there, which I wasn't really on the hook for in the first place, just because it was a business trip.
Okay.
Right.
But
were you still getting paid during those 2 months?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. That would have been awesome.
That would have been the cherry on
That
top.
would have almost made it worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they gave me one of the frustrating things too is all the court documents are always in Thai, even the numbers. Right. So I don't know anything I'm signing. It's like I don't know if you've ever seen Broke Down Palace, but it's like that. They put some court document in front of you. It's all squiggly Thai, and they're like, sign this, and you have to trust that what you're signing is Yeah.
What's broke
And you're
down?
signing a guilty plea too, right? That's kind of like
I
you're
did.
signing
I
a
did
guilty
have to
plea in a
sign-
different language. Like, wow,
Yeah.
that's
They
intense.
They could charge you with so much other shit. If you,
Yeah,
honestly.
and I had somebody translate the police report to me, and it's just all BS.
Right.
It says that I was standing outside of a temple and I looked suspicious, like I was selling drugs, and then they found that
Oh my
bag
God.
of weed.
Oh my god.
And that there's absolutely no way. It's like, okay, I'm an American. I was in Bangkok for literally one day, so in that one day, I learned how to sling 1 gram of marijuana.
Right.
Meanwhile, I have a career going on. It's
Oh
doing
my
okay.
god.
Right.
Uh,
Oh my God.
that's incredible. Yeah, and
And
it's all right. So at this point in the story, you've gotten your judgment, etc. You've paid your fines.
I've gotten bailed out, and so I haven't had my true hearing. So I'm just hanging out in Thailand for 2 months. I have to.
Did you make it to Chiang Mai eventually?
I did make it to Chiang Mai eventually.
All right, good. You would want to
yeah.
miss Chiang Mai.
I trekked through the jungles for a few days. I did some mountain biking.
Nice.
Hung out with the elephants. Yeah, it was really fun. But it was frustrating because I did have to extend my visa while I was on bail because I was going to overstay my visa even though I couldn't
Oh yeah.
even leave the country. So I had to use my translator, which I had to pay daily 1,000 baht just to
Holy shit.
come with me to immigration
Every day over
offices.
the last
Oh.
2 months, you had to have.
Not
this
every
person?
day, just when I
Okay,
needed
only when you
him
needed
and-
them to do
Okay.
things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which basically the translator is I ended up having to the girl that I ended up paying the 55,000 baht. She didn't help me out too much after the fact. But the original translator, the sketchy guy that I first didn't trust, he was the one that he was always hanging out in front of the police station, always waiting for foreigners to get arrested. So
Oh wow.
he was the one that would always help me out. So after the 2 months were up, I had my trial where I got my official fine, which ended up being about $40 US. So it was kind of like an insult. Like if I would have known my way around the legal system, and if I wouldn't have been intimidated and scared at the outset and just extorted, then I could have navigated this through and got out of it
Right.
way more cheap. I would have paid 10,000 baht bail, which I would have received as a refund, and I would have just paid the $40 fee. But just because I'm a foreigner and they know I have much more money, they
I gotcha.
extort.
So how would you have gone? How would you have been able though to pay the 10,000 baht bail? Because didn't you say the bail had to go through somebody else?
I don't know. See, that's one of those things that they use to
Yeah.
Huh.
stick
I mean,
it to us.
what would you have done differently? If you were there, knowing today, now you're in that situation, so you're in the prison, and then you know that the bail's supposed to be 10,000 and the fine's 40 bucks.
I think you just don't get to the prison in the first place. You pay the 10,000 baht.
Right. You pay the 10,000 baht up front. Yeah.
And be done with it.
I thought it was even more than that, man. I've heard of people that had to this similar kind of thing happen to them, or they got caught for real, whatever it was, and they had to pay 60,000 baht, $2,000 straight
Shit.
up.
Yeah.
I don't know, but you would say just pay whatever they say up front,
Yeah.
even though it's completely even if it's not legit.
Right.
Yeah. And so after I had my court hearing and paid my official fine, the last day I was in Thailand, I had to go to the police station with my so I can collect my passport and then have my passport taken to the immigration office so they can remove me from the blacklist so I can leave the country. And so while I'm at the police station, the translator, he's like, "Hey, I need you to talk to these 3 foreigners that we arrested last night." And there was an English guy, a French guy, and an Australian guy. And their stories were all kind of similar. Somebody either offered them drugs or, just kind of coerced them into buying it. 3 a.m, they're drunk. "Hey man, you want to buy a joint? 100 baht.
Wow.
Yeah. Real.
Okay.
Something
Real
you should
sketch.
never do is buy any drugs from those people on the street.
Oh my God.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden they wake up in jail the next morning.
Jeez.
And so basically the translator told me, tell them what just happened to you and how you just went through the process, and because they were in the same state of mind that I was when I first got arrested. This can't be happening, and there's no way I'm gonna pay this much money. This is extortion. Like this, I'm gonna call my embassy and trying to be defiant. But you're in their country, you're in their system, and you're gonna have to play by their rules.
Oh, okay. So the moral of the story is, even though it's corrupt and BS, just do away with it. Get rid of it right away. You know, if the guy asks if it's you have to know if it's legitimate police officer or whatever. Yeah, but I guess you have to.
Yeah, I mean, because it's only universally, it's only going to get more expensive as you go up the chain. The more people are involved, the more people are going to get a cut, and the more money you're going to.
Interesting. And yeah, I gotcha.
Because rather than me, if I would just pay that 10,000 baht at the beginning, then it's just that officer and the taxi just taking the cut. But then once you get the police captain involved and you get more people involved, then it gets squirrely. And after my bail hearing, it's kind of frustrating because my friend was waiting for me at the hostel we were staying at, but rather than the police taking me straight back to my hostel, we went for a joyride. We picked up a pack of beers, drove around in a police car, drinking beers while driving.
This was against your will, kind of, right?
Kind of against my will, yeah. I mean, I was...
Man, you were forced to go and party with these guys like they're your chums.
Yeah.
And break more laws with the police.
Yeah, it was interesting, too, because then when I was recently been in Bangkok. I was there in January and February, and in the Democracy Plaza, there was police cars turned over just based on, from the demonstrations. And you see in the cop, there was some of the cop cars turned over, and you see like packs of condoms, playing cards, cigarettes, beer bottles like spilling out of the cop cars.
Huh.
Oh wow.
That's wild, man. That's wild.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Oh jeez.
I can't imagine.
Do you have? Do you have any more parting wisdom or lessons learned or any other morals, whatever, parting thoughts on the story? Jeez.
Well, I don't know. I mean, one thing I do now when I get into a cab now, if I have the chance, I just pull up my Google Maps and I just kind of try to follow along the route and make sure that we're kind of going in the general direction. But not really. It's hard to have that state of mind when it's 2 a.m. and you've been drinking, you know.
Right.
It's tough to say because, you know, you want to be safe, but at the same time, it's a fine line, or it's a balancing act between staying safe and trying to let loose and have fun at times too. You don't want to be paranoid,
right?
But at the same time, you don't want to find yourself in a bad situation.
Right.
You almost just had like just shit luck, you know.
Yeah.
If it wasn't,
and I'm on the right. Yeah, I think I'm the wrong guy to ask for advice how to avoid shitty luck.
Well, I think people are gonna learn from your story.
Yeah,
you know, I think learning by sharing for everyone.
It's eye-opening. Well,
okay.
Cool, man. Well, we'll ask you one more question before we let you go, and this is in a completely different subject, but we ask all our guests. So you might know if you listen to that Mariana's episode, who introduced us, actually. And so what is something that you would like to do in your life, now that you're a free man, again, before you kick the bucket?
I just want to live by my own rules. I don't want to find myself in a situation where I'm trapped again, like, for example, jail. I want to I value my freedom, and whether or not that's trapped in a job that I don't see a future in, or trapped in a relationship, or just, you know, I want to play by my own rules. And just be in the situations that I want to create for myself, rather than getting painted into a corner where, you know, something that. So I know that's not a specific answer, that like going to a nude beach. But
is this related to something? Was there another kind of big? It sounds like there's like another life change you made that you're hinting at. Was there something? Did you like quit this job you had before or something like that, or?
I did end up leaving that job, and I was engaged throughout this whole affair too, and ended up deciding not to get married as well.
Wow. So you quit your job and the relationship after.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
It was. I realized I was just kind of going through a path through life that I wasn't making active decisions. I was just graduating from college, getting a career, finding a girl, moving in with her, getting engaged. I was just going through the motions, and realized that in my life I'm lucky I have options that I can I can travel. I can
Yeah.
explore the world. I can bounce around jobs
Yeah.
if I want to. So
Do you feel that you're being a lot more proactive in your life now?
I think so. But at the same time, it's hard too because I have a certain reluctance to make big decisions. Also, big commitments, just because it's that same thing. I
Yes.
don't want to get trapped. So it's and right now I am in a little bit of a limbo because it has been about a year since I had quit that job and have been traveling and now it's I don't know. Traveling is starting to feel more like a grind than it was an escape before, and so now.
Right.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. All these things are. It's funny that So this episode to this point was about this one story in Thailand, but now these are things that tie in with our themes, general themes of the show. We talk a lot about how many people follow the script and all this stuff, and kind of that's what in many ways the show is about, breaking the script and living,
Right.
like you said, to be free, living on your own terms. Certainly this is what I am trying to do as well. So I also left my corporate job a year ago, and I've been traveling for a year and feel similarly to you. Now the traveling is becoming a grind. So that's why I'm heading to Chiang Mai, hopefully later today, and post up there and be comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, now it's
man.
nice too because I've traveled and if I get a new job and I don't like it, I can always quit and I say okay, maybe I'll pick up
Yep.
traveling again. So the nice thing is to know I have options.
Very cool.
Yes.
Yes,
Now,
definitely.
I'm curious though, is this revelation of yours, did this come from the incident that happened in Thailand, or was it something else that kind of triggered this for you?
I think it was mainly the Thai experience.
Really? So this time in Thai jail triggered you to quit your job and change your whole life.
It was a traumatic experience followed by a very relaxed, unplugged experience where I could just reflect
okay.
Huh.
The 2
and
months.
think about
yeah.
things. Yeah.
So
and
yeah. Wow.
That's
So maybe it was a blessing in
interesting.
disguise. That's amazing, man.
yeah. I mean, I still am alive. I'm here and back at home in the States. A little, obviously it cost me money, but it's going to be a great story for my grandkids one day.
Right.
Right.
So I can't really say I have any regrets because it's one of those things that it sucks when it happens, but the best you can do is just learn from it and take away from it.
That's awesome, man. Maybe we'll have to bring you back on for a future episode. It sounds like you probably have plenty more to share if you've been traveling for a year since this incident. So maybe I have much more to share.
I've got plenty more. I was one incident now. I won't tell the whole story. That's considering me to kind of
Preview.
stop traveling is I was about a week to go on my last trip in South America. I was in Quito, Ecuador, in a bar, and I got cracked over the head with a beer bottle and mugged.
Jeez.
So,
Oh man.
All right, well, we'll have the Ben
So
Condon
that-
episode part 2,
What's-
bar fight in Peru story or Ecuador story.
Very cool.
Um,
I look forward
awesome,
to that.
man. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that one going to be called? Because your current story was the Thailand a cautionary tale by Ben Condon. What's the next one going to be called?
I don't know. I'll have to think about it. Just party bash in Quito.
A beer bottle in Ecuador.
Yeah. Cerveza on the cabeza.
Cerveza.
We got it. Boom.
That's it, man.
Awesome, man. Well, folks want to follow you on Instagram. You've got an account there, Mayamo Ben, but Yamo intentionally misspelled. So it's MEYAMOBEN on Instagram. And yeah, we'll also post up a link to the story itself. People want to do a reading version of it. And we'll have you, I think we'll have to have you on again.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, thanks,
this was,
Ben.
It was a lot of fun.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Eye-opening
Absolutely.
story.
Absolutely. And thanks everybody for listening to Walking to Earth podcast. You can check us out online at WTEpodcast.com. And don't forget to try your free trial at audibletrial.com/WTE podcast. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time. Take care.